Salute Knicks Nation, the streets are buzzing. Welcome in tonight's stream. We talk about the latest New York Knicks. That's right, there's two. After the NBA draft was done, the New York Knicks went and signed undrafted free agent Dink Pate out of the G League, Mexico City Capitanos. And lots to talk about tonight. We break down their games, we'll preview Summer League, and I'll give my grade on the draft overall. The Knicks missed out on some opportunities, but this latest pickup, a 6'7" wing out of Dallas, Dink Pate, with a ton of upside. Right, we'll break down his history, slipped in the draft, slipped out of the draft, but of course the guy we picked up, MO Diawara, as well. We've got some buzz coming through from NBA Big Board and why his name was buzzing during the pre-draft process. And the New York Knicks have two new wings to break down. Welcome in everyone to tonight's show. Hope everyone is doing well. Great to have you with us. Smash that like button. You've got the Knicks streets buzzing. And who is Dink Pate? Why did he slip out of the draft? We'll talk about that. And the New York Knicks got a steal with a huge upside swing, upside flyer with this guy. Athletic, great in transition, and a skill set that the New York Knicks will need, but he needs developing. He can handle the ball, average 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists in the G League, was a 4-star recruit out of high school, and the youngest professional athlete in the United States. At 17, he joined the G League Ignite program before the G League Ignite got scrapped by the NBA, and he was no longer draft eligible last year after the G League Ignite collapsed, and he had to join the Mexico City Capitanos and play with them in the G League all last season. Turned a lot of heads. His stock was a lot higher a year ago. He was projected to be a lottery pick, so much so that Reebok and Shaquille O'Neal signed Dink Pate as one of their newest athletes to rep Reebok and be the face of the basketball renaissance as well. So lots to look forward to talking about Dink Pate. I see you in the building, Margaret, Darren, Danny, Yuri, Ark, Henry, what's good, El Tango, Calvinist, Astral, Off the Chain. We picked up talent, and you're looking at our Summer League squad right now. We got 7 guys that we know of, 8, including Bawali Bales, the point guard out of Australia, but he's not really connected to the Knicks in terms of he's filling the Summer League squad. I saw a little bit of overreaction about him. You got to fill the Summer League squad, so I don't think Bawali Bales is, anything to look at in terms of the Knicks moving forward. But these 7 guys are, as we break down the latest in free agency soon to come, guys, I feel like our 2-ways might be set. Now, MO Diawara last night with the 51st pick. Dink Pate reports that we reached an agreement. Now, the terms of the agreement haven't been confirmed yet. However, it has been confirmed that he will be with us in Summer League. And of course, James Nagy reports that he's coming over for Summer League, but no details over his potential deal either as well. So I do think that it is going to be a case of these guys coming in on a 2-way with MO Diawara. He could be a stash. Maybe we keep Kevin McCullough on one of those 2-ways, but I would bring MO Diawara over on a 2-way. Let him play in the G League and let these guys play a lot. I'll tell you why. Because in terms of Najee Diawara overseas, they don't get as many minutes as they should. those pro leagues, they want to win, and they favor a lot of the veterans as well. And so I don't think it's great for development. Stick these guys on the two-way and let them play 30 minutes with the Westchester Knicks. Let them develop. Let them get all their reps up, the shots, mistakes, where winning and losing does not matter. You know, for their European clubs, winning and losing does matter. You know, they've got to pay the bills. Especially the coaches, the veterans. You know, they'll try to win games, and so that's one of the reasons James Nagy has decided to come over, and the Knicks are looking at giving him the two-way. I think Dink Pate, the fact that they've signed him as an undrafted free agent, they had got to have an agreement that there's either training camp or the two-way confirmed. But we'll wait to hear on that. Yeah, and Diawara. Some people are suggesting it's a stash. But yeah, I would give him the two-way. What do you guys think? So yeah, out of the graphic, El Tango, I've taken out Precious Achua, no campaign, no PJ Tucker as well. So out of the guys in the white shirts, that is 12 guys. Assuming Kevin McCullough gets a regular deal, again, he could stay on the two-way. Maybe they keep Mohamed Diawara overseas, but I would think that Kevin McCullough would get a standard deal, and that leaves 3 spots available. 3 spots to fill. If our latest Knicks, 3 Knicks are on the two-way, that allows the Knicks to sign up to 15 guys, and they can add 3 more guys. We only have the vet minimum or the taxpayer mid-level exception. So that's something we'll continue to talk about tonight, guys. Who are 3 veterans that you would love to add? Obviously, free agency to come. I do think Landry Shamet should come back. Familiar with the players, the vibes are good with Landry. Summer League's going to be popping, and I do think Tyler Kolek deserves a lot of minutes throughout that Summer League campaign, right? We do have confirmation now. The official schedule, guys, we can confirm for y'all right now. Ernest, what's good? Paula, what's good? July 11. So Vegas Summer League will kickstart on July 10. The Knicks' first game versus Detroit. July 11. And then July 12. Boston. July 15 versus Brooklyn, and 17 versus Indiana, and then with an additional game to be announced. So 5 games minimum. There will be an additional game to be announced. So in terms of our latest signing, Dink Pate, guys, he was a potential lottery pick earlier, as Rafael Barlow, NBA Big Board, is speaking on here on August 28, 2024, last year. Less than 12 months ago, he was a potential lottery pick. Signs a multi-year deal with Reebok, joining Angel Reese as a featured face of the brand. One of the biggest signings that Shaquille O'Neal has made, right? Also at the Combine, Dink Pate was the second fastest in the lane agility. So his strengths, let me start breaking it down, right? He's got great dribble, great handle, great size for a wing. Can play the 2, can play the 3 at 6'7". Gets downhill. Reminds me a little bit of a former Westchester Knick. Maybe this is the lowest floor. But Ferron Hunt. Guys, you might remember a Ferron Hunt. All athlete. All athleticism. And he does need to hone the offensive skill set. But he has the handle. The shot needs more developing. And the decision making needs more developing. Got good tools to be a great defender. You know, a 7-foot wingspan, 6'7", averaged 10 points, 5 rebounds in the pro setting of the G League. But remember, he's so young. He's just 19 years of age. And Mohamed Diawara is just 20, but turned 20 in April. Dink Pate turned 19 in March. So he's just turned 19. Was the youngest athlete in professional sports in the US at 17 years old when he joined the G League Ignite. But that route didn't pay off. He's coming in with a chip on his shoulder right now, too. You see how fast he is getting downhill. So he tweeted this out on Instagram, right? He says, I gotta turn it up a notch. Heard ya. Some people were waiting to see Dink Pate get drafted, and when he didn't, they were waiting to see where he would sign. A teenage phenom. So great upside swing. And so that leads me to sort of reflect on the draft. Felicia says Shamet DeLon Wright. Yeah, I like DeLon Wright. I just feel like there's few very limited spots available right now. If you bring back Landry, I don't know how you fit DeLon Wright, especially if you need to prioritize Tyler Kolek. But I see the vision. But with our summer league now, guys, there's a lot of opportunities. You know, if you're taking that upside swing on Dink Pate, it's a great upside swing. And for us to get him as an undrafted free agent, I look at it like a reverse. So I mentioned Ferron Hunt, Dink Pate, that could be the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, he's been compared to the likes of an Amen Thompson with athleticism and creation ability, handling ability and playmaking. He's had comparisons to Dante Exum. That's another comparison I've heard. Dante Exum could be the middle. That could be the middle bar. Ferron Hunt could be the lowest. The highest. He has the potential to be an Amen Thompson in terms of a two-way guy. Maybe not the defender Amen Thompson is. I'm not trying to suggest that. I'm trying to suggest that in terms of a player arc, an archetype with athleticism and handles. Felicia says CT always defense first. Yeah. We need guys that play defense, and that's why I really like the Muhammad Diawara pickup for where it was. You know, now I was disappointed. The Knicks could have got some more ready-made guys, and I feel you if you're upset that the Knicks didn't get Tyrese Proctor or Jameer Watkins, or you know, obviously guys that missed out on, you know, with Adu Thiero. I was disappointed, but my initial grade after the Diawara pick was a C. Overall, with the one pick, I was going to grade the draft as a C. You know, a lot of question marks. But Diawara does fit the need of the roster, and he's going to take some developing. I'd keep him around on the two-way. But after we picked up Dink Pate as an undrafted free agent, I'm looking at it like it's the reverse. Dink Pate's a guy that should have got drafted and could have got selected in the 40s. So, with that said, you know, my grade gets bumped up to a B minus. What do y'all think overall with the draft? I'm giving it a B minus with the two acquisitions combined. Now, it really don't matter who was drafted, where, whatever. We got two players now. They're both going to be under contract, whether a stash two-way. That's all you can ask for in the second round. I mean, we're picking 50. There's for sure no guarantees. Now the work has to start. You gotta develop these guys, but we also have so many other young players from last year. This is like a brand new day for them with no Tom Thibodeau now. James Nagy enters the fray to give Huck Porty some competition in Summer League to back up Mitchell Robinson. Again, I think he's been promised the two-way because he wouldn't come back from overseas and cut his contract overseas to just, take a chance. I think he's going to be on a two-way training camp after summer league. I would give Kevin McCullough a regular rookie deal so that we can keep those salaries low under the second apron. We can add some veterans, and I would stick Dink Pate, who just needs to play a lot more minutes with Westchester, and Mohamed Diawara on the two-way. The good thing is those guys can actually play minutes during the season on the two-way as well. Let's say there's blowout victories. OG needs a break. Macau Bridges needs a rest. You can still have these young fellas on the two-way, and you can still have them come in. Yeah, Cody, what's good? David Huss, I like this one as well. Yeah, he compares to an RJ Barrett. That's a great comp as well. Middling could be RJ Dante Exum. His ceiling could be a Thompson twin. And if not, I see a Ferron Hunt type guy that's just going to live off that athleticism. Danny Landers, what's good? Webb, yeah, we picked up the rights to a guy from Europe, 50 with that trade down, but he's a 32-year-old Croatian guy. I think he's not going to come over. That's just a sweetener to have a guy to have the rights to the guy. So yeah, we're going to hear from Dink Pate. We're going to hear for some interviews. The guy's got personality. He's got a chip, crazy athleticism, perfect flyer to take. Here he was announced, as Reebok official athlete, youngest known pro athlete to a multi-year NIL deal. But I tell you what, guys, thankfully that G League Ignite program is now, it's now defunct because it's not good. It wasn't a great situation. He should have gone college, got NIL money in college, and if it didn't work out, he would have still been in college getting paid and developing. But it worked out for us. Now we got some real genuine physical tools and talent, guys that we can develop further on the two-way. Rokas is still playing overseas. Yeah, he's still playing overseas. He doesn't really want to come over just yet. Sho Khan says, yeah, RJ Barrett, Derek Jones type. 100%. Above the rim, 7 feet wingspan. Fast in the lane agilities. The lane agility drill. Let's go, Knicks. Knicks Real Talk Divine, my brother in the house. Let's go. Says, salute CT to the chat. Under the circumstances surrounding the organization, I think they did a decent job on the draft. Let's go, Knicks. Salute Divine. Yep. Yeah, agree. I think they could have done a few things better. So it's not perfect. I had the grade at C, but now I give it a B-. Now, if Diawara and Dink Pate end up a future player on the roster and a rotation player, that grade will go up to, to B+, B, A+, hopefully. There's upside here. So, yeah, Dink Pate says here, one of his interviews pre-combine with the Sacramento Kings. He says, I'm always team first. I'm a big guard. I'm a willing passer, and I love to play the game. I want to go to an organization that can build me and mold me. So just 19 years old, got great tools to work with. Same with Mohamed Diawara, right? Different archetype. Mohamed Diawara is more of a Pascal Siakam type at 6'9". What do y'all think? What do y'all think about our actual pick, 51, Mohamed Diawara? Right. I'm going to play a soundbite in a minute from Rafael Barlow of NBA Big Board, guys. He said that he'd heard Diawara's name was buzzing heading into the draft, so he wasn't surprised that the Knicks selected him. he wasn't surprised. Neither was I. Um, so I had Dink Pate as one of the guys we should have heavily considered at 50, and he went undrafted. So some of those guys heavily considered at 50, we didn't go for, we didn't get, but we ended up getting one of the guys that I would have taken, Dink Pate, undrafted too. So his profile stands out. James Barlow of Big Board likes to pick up as well. Hopefully we get to speak to James. I'll try to get him on for a conversation. Obviously covers the draft. James Barlow says this is a good pickup. Rafael Barlow, James Barlow knows the Dallas market, you know, those players from that area. And obviously he's a Dallas native. He's Dink Pate. First confirmed by Jonathan Gavoni of ESPN. Ian Begley does confirm that he will come to Summer League per sources. So 6'7", a 7-foot reach. And here we go. Let me get this going with some volume. And I'm gonna get this back up. We can hear from Rafael Barlow.
Houston with the 59th pick. That was surprising. Mohamed Diawara was a name that I had heard was buzzing, so that wasn't too surprising. But Zakarsky, Houston with the 59th pick. That was surprising. Mohamed Diawara was a name that I had heard was buzzing, so that wasn't too surprising. But
there we have it, guys. What do y'all think? That was the recap that NBA Big Board did last night, right after the draft. So Mohamed Diawara, you know, some people feel like that was too much of a reach. A lot of people didn't like the pick based on the unknown circumstance, you know, the project kind of nature of Mohamed Diawara. But, you know, Rafael Barlow is very plugged in to scouts, agents, and that. He heard his name was buzzing. The Knicks worked him out, so that was key. Obviously, they saw what they really liked, and he was a guy that they were happy to take. I mean, I see shades of kind of a Jeremy Sohan as well, that versatile forward that can play 4, play 5. The three-point shot is the biggest swing skill. Now, in terms of overseas, right, he was only getting 19 minutes a game. And if y'all feel familiar with the game overseas, like, they like to favor the veterans as well. So it's tough for a young player like a Diawara to come in and you know, they don't run the offense around him or anything. He has to fit in. So he has to get his buckets in transition. He has to get his buckets off cuts, movements, all of the things that he will have to do with the New York Knicks. But it helps that the shot, the mechanics are beautiful. Some breakdowns from Hoops Hype talking about his shot mechanics are sound. And so I think it's going to take a case of he just has to, you know, get with NBA trainers and work on that outside shot. But in terms of being able to put the ball on the deck, there are skills there. Defensive first guy at 6'9", a 7'4" wingspan, a crazy defensive prospect, but can switch out on the perimeter, can make life difficult for all of those guys trying to get those threes up on us and trying to penetrate, like we saw against Indiana with the likes of Tyrese Halliburton, Neesmith. We need more switchable guys, you know. And the familiarity with Pakarm Dadier helps the situation. Those guys are going to be close, tight during the Summer League squad. And what a squad it is right now in terms of names that we need to pay attention to, and guys that are actually on real roster deals. In the case of Pakarm Tyler Kolek. I'm looking for those guys to show their experience with Huck Porty, James Nagy as well. A Ransom says summer league is very important for development. 100%. That's so much. That's so key to these guys setting a good impression on the new coach, because yeah, the new coach might not be hired yet, but they're gonna definitely get feedback and have to look at the film once they do get hired. But the where things stand, I do think we will have a coach hired before July 10. They won't be running summer league. It'll be an assistant. What's my opinion on the point guard from summer league, Biawali? Yeah, he's more of a team filling guy in terms of, yeah, he'll be there on the end of the bench, but he's not a future prospect for the Knicks to really for us to pay attention to. Yeah, he's a fun guard. You know, he'll be a pro overseas. Has played some NBL as a development kind of player, a speedy point guard. Yeah, he won't factor into the Knicks' plans moving forward. It's important to note that the summer league squad's like, I don't know, 15 to 18 guys, and they've got to fill these spots up with some guys that can back these guys up. You know, we do want to be competitive in summer league, and you do need a couple of pros, a couple of 23, 20, 22-year-olds to come in and, you know, and back these guys up. But yeah, I expect these guys to get the bulk of the minutes. And I don't think Dice is going to be coaching summer league. You know, that was one of the major factors with firing Thibodeau, guys, and why James Dolan was, you know, needing to be involved in the process, because with the firing of Thibodeau, we had to clean house. You know, all those assistants, they were all Thibodeau's, and I don't think they're going to stick around. You know, there's been no formal reporting yet. I'm speculating, but I don't think the likes of Dice, Darren Ehrman, Andy Greer, and the other guys are going to stick around. Outside of Rick Brunson is going to stick around. I don't know what's going to happen with Mo Cheeks, Mark Bryant. I expect most of these guys to go. You know, you bring in a brand new head coach, it's only fair for him that he gets to pick his staff. You know, you can't hire a brand new coach and say, yeah, you got to keep these guys. That's not fair. So the Knicks will clean house. But as I have confirmed for y'all, we will have this gentleman, experienced championship-winning coach Brian Gorgian, is leading the summer league mini camp right now. Close friend of Leon Rose, has actually been an assistant coach for the Knicks in summer league before. He's a 70-year-old veteran coach in the NBL in Australia. Knows Ariel Huck-Porty really well. Knows Biawali Bales, the point guard that's coming in for summer league as well. He knows him really well. He knows all of these guys, and so that's the one guy that we know about. He's going to be running the training camp for summer league, and he's going to be an assistant coach for summer league so far. I won't be shocked if he steps in and runs summer league if we don't have a coach lined up yet. So he could be the insurance policy right now. So we do have Brian Gorgian with us right now. He's in New York City helping these guys to develop for the mini camp. Anthony, what's good? As for who's leading the race, I feel like, yeah, so just to confirm, last night, the reports that James Borrego is going to be the coach was misspoken, premature. James Borrego is just interviewing for the role. He's not got the job. Brian Windhorse said that he was the next Knicks coach to interview, and people misheard what he said. The video went viral and got picked up by Bleacher Report, it got aggregated. Oh, Brago's going to be the next head coach. People just misheard what Windhorst said. James Borrego is only interviewing. He's not going to be the lead candidate. Right now, I feel like it's Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown. And then I feel like, it's probably Micah Norrie and then James Borrego. We don't know who else is going to interview yet. So we're still waiting on that. So yeah, Summer League. Summer League is going to be exciting. We have the schedule locked up right now. What are y'all thinking right now with Summer League? Who's the guy that you most want to see in action? Buzzer says, CT, do you think Leon Rose will try to bring Masai Ujiri into the front office? That's a great question. So Masai Ujiri has been let go by the Toronto Raptors. Not too much of a surprise. I think, it's been a bit, there's been turbulence recently with the Raptors. But yeah, I don't think he will. Masai Ujiri is like, he's the president. Yeah, he's a guy that runs things. He's not going to take a demotion. And Leon Rose is definitely not going to bring him in, to work underneath him. I think a more suitable question that some people might ask was, would James Dolan bring Masai Ujiri in to replace Leon Rose? That's more of a fitting question. Is James Dolan going to replace Leon with Masai Ujiri? Leon Rose would not bring in Masai Ujiri to work underneath him. Jason says hire Norrie into the organization if he's not the coach. Yeah, so obviously he's closely working with Kat. We have an interview from Micah Norrie here, speaking to Frank Isola, right, on a platform, and Scalabrini. He confirmed that he interviewed on Sirius XM radio, and he said, "We'll see what happens in New York." So he's thankful for the opportunity, but right now he's still the assistant under Chris Finch with the Timberwolves. So James Borrego is a CAA client. I feel like they're just doing their due diligence. They wanted to hear what he brings to the table, but I don't think James Borrego is in the top two leading candidates, right now. So Mohamed Diawara, guys, Dink Pate, two defensive-minded players with great physical tools. Is this a change of the guard, right? Moving away from what I feel are Thibodeau-type prospects. We bring in Tyler Kolek, more of the older, ready-made guys. Kevin McCullough last season, Ariel Huckporty, that had 3 years pro experience. And this year, we supplement that with two guys with high upside, but physical length and tools. The NBA is changing. Look at guys like, Aaron Neesmith, Andrew Nemhard, and those guys killing us on the perimeter. So in terms of addressing the needs, I like what the New York Knicks have done. Now, it might take some time to develop these guys. You have to develop. I've said that. You have to take time and do better as an organization at developing guys with higher upside. You can't just keep nailing the 23-year-old, 24-year-old guys and hope that they're going to come in and stick. You need a combination. And if you look at guys around the league, Austin Reeves went undrafted for the Lakers. He's about to get a max contract. You look at Lou Dort. Maybe we found our own Lou Dort now. There's been comparisons to This could have been this year's Lou Dort with Dink Pate. Not in terms of player comparison, but in terms of like success story. Because Lou Dort, undrafted, got paid, is an NBA champ right now. Johnny says another Windhorse scandal. Stay away. Margaret says everybody I like to see in Summer League. Cody also says I'm amped. I'm really amped for Summer League. Free agency's Monday. A Ransom. I'm excited for that. And who do you guys want us to try to pick up? David says Taylor Jenkins is a leader. Yeah, I think Jenkins' strengths lie in working with younger players, and I feel like that is what we need. We have a very young roster in terms of guys under, 28 and under, but we have guys, 23 and under, especially. If you can get great development for Pacome Dardier and these new guys on the block, the new two-ways, I'm going to call them, you're going to be cooking with fish grease with that situation. So yeah, my opinion on the draft, B-. I would keep Mohamed Diawara in New York City, keep him working with the G League. Maybe he ends up, getting some spot minutes. Maybe the shot starts to develop more. I think that's the biggest swing skill for Mohamed Diawara. For Dink Pate, I think the biggest swing skill for him is decision making, because he can create a shot. He's got a great handle. As you see, look at him get downhill. I mean, that's an RJ Barrett type play coming downhill off the left. So Dink Pate is more polished than Diawara, but not as strong as a defensive-minded prospect, but a lot more upside on the offensive side of the floor. But I think his decision-making is going to be the biggest thing, and that's just going to come with experience, because of his age right now. He just turned 19, went pro at 17 as well. Could have been a lottery pick last season. That's how much of a upside swing that we got as an undrafted guy. And look, he could have signed for any team. I saw a lot of fans from Miami, a lot of fans from Toronto that were upset that he chose the New York Knicks. We look at some more highlights. I mean, he was a guy that Reebok signed to a major deal. Yeah, less isolation ball. That should be the aim. Joe says we could go 3 deep at center now with Cat, Mitch, Hukporty. Yeah, we also have some positional versatility. I think Diawara can guard 1 through 5. He's a positionless defender as well. So also James Nagy, I think, is really going to surprise some people too with his defensive skill set, drop coverage. But I think he's more disciplined than Hukporty. James Nagy, the scouts speaking on his European stint that he's a disciplined defensive prospect. Stays out of foul trouble, can play drop coverage at a more polished level. So for me, I'm looking most forward to obviously seeing some of the new guys, but I'm looking forward to seeing Pacome Dardier and Kevin McCullough. I kind of feel like I know what Ariel Hukporty and what Tyler Kolek and what their ceilings are, and I'm quite high on them, but I really want to see more of Pacome Dardier and Kevin McCullough, because I don't really know what their ceiling is yet. I know McCullough is an older guy, but in terms of his NBA potential, for us, I feel like he could be a rotation player. So I'm looking forward to seeing the wings from last year let the wings from this year start to cook with development as well. Cody says Norrie's credited with helping to hone the free-flowing style of basketball alongside Chris Finch, in Minnesota. Margaret, great point. Charlotte could do with a Masai Ujiri, 100%. Maybe even New Orleans. Buzzer says, CT, what position do you want Cat to play next season? I want him to play mostly at the 4, but I do think he has to play a little bit at the 5, If you want that stretch lineup, I think Cat can play, maybe 10 to 15 minutes at the 5 and maybe 25 minutes at the 4. It's going to depend a lot on the development of Huck Porty, maybe a free agent pickup like Al Horford. Also, however James Nagy and Huck Porty look in the summer league too. But yeah, great question. Isaac's in the building. What's good? AP. Margaret says defense is effort. Yeah, instincts, but also effort. That's the start. But also don't gamble. It takes a lot of skill to be a good defender, but be disciplined. Don't be over aggressive. Don't be over helping. One of the low key things that people didn't talk about enough about Tom Thibodeau, and what I really did not like. I really did not like this about Tom Thibodeau. With his defensive philosophy of packing the paint, we overhelped and helped off of the shooters, fam. So, yeah, when it comes to that, we overhelped off the shooters. And so with the double big lineups, it helped things out a little bit because you got Mitchell Robinson there. The players didn't have to panic, and sag back off to the paint. But so many times I saw Josh Hart try to, help recover and try to get his hand in the passing lane, but leaving a shooter wide open. OG the same, Macau as well, fam. If a guy gets the drive and the step, let him shoot a contested finish at the basket, right? Not every single paint shot is an easy shot. If you contest it well, I live and die with that. It's a 2-point shot to start with. 2-point shots don't hurt you the same way as a kick out, open 3. The other thing is, if you can get your hand up there, the guy has to finish in traffic. Halliburton's not a great finisher in traffic. I don't know why we were sagging into the paint and helping off of the shooters. So you got to stay disciplined. Defense is a lot of IQ. A lot of players, sadly, they lack IQ. They don't see the floor, I guess, from our perspective, from the film room. Buzzer says, yeah, drop coverage didn't help either. Yeah, the scheme of drop coverage, and we have switchable guys, and we needed to tap into that a lot more with the Michis, the Cats, the OGs as well. They can switch their feet. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Summer League to see these guys turn it up a notch. We've got some athletes now to complement. I always said that the roster needs balance, guys. You can't have too much of one type of player. We have a lot of undersized guards. We have a Kolek, a Deuce McBride, and a Jalen Brunson. Josh Hart is very short for a wing. Landry Shamet is very short for a wing. So what did we do? We went out and got a 6'9" guy that can guard 1 through 5 with a crazy wingspan. And what else did we get? Dink Pate, a 6'7" guy that could play the 2 and the 3 with a 7 feet wingspan. Now, last year when we traded Jericho, and we got DeLon Wright, a lot of people were talking about, what the heck's this? This is nothing. This isn't going to help. And I said, look, the roster needs some balance. We lacked another ball handling a guard that could defend on the perimeter. And in the end, I was correct because DeLon Wright was adding some balance to the squad, right? With Jericho going out, Huck Porty stepped in and he was able to take on that role. And then we were able to bring in another playmaking guard, DeLon Wright, 6'5", who could play make a bit and defend, and he helped us in the playoffs. So now with Bacome Dardier, Kevin McCullough, and a couple of these project wings, and another tall center with James Nagy, I think the roster has a bit more balance now, and now we just need to complement that in free agency with some sharpshooters, I think. That's my number one need now in free agency, right? Maybe some ball handling, but some sharpshooting. What do y'all think? Who is Heffy says Dink signed an Exhibit 10. If that's out there confirmed, I appreciate that. Exhibit 10 means he'll come into training camp and then they'll see what he can do. But I think he'll stick around for sure. I think he's going to be their project that they work on, and look, he was a 4-star recruit out of high school. One of the skill sets that he brings that I feel like we really need is a guy that can get downhill and is not afraid. Not afraid to finish at the basket. Strong finisher at the basket. We need that. We have a lot of weak finishers at the basket. Whether it be size limitations or it's just skill set limitations. I mean, Josh Hart, Landry Shamet, Mikal Bridges, they're not great at finishing at the rim, man. A lot of them don't like contact. Right? Look at this guy, man. Tomahawk jam. Isaac says, what do we think about Dink Pate? He looks exciting. Big buzz around this kid. Yeah, I think he comes in with the tools, the floor as a Ferron Hunt right now. And he can develop into being a, potential RJ type Dante Exum if the shot can develop and be a good pro. His ceiling could be a Thompson twin. And obviously he's super young. Jason said, I heard Jenkins was awful at handling perimeter defense. I think Mike Honori is strong at that, but I'm not too familiar with Taylor Jenkins on the defensive side. But I think with 6 seasons in Memphis, he showed that he was able to, get them the 2nd seed twice. They obviously had some good personnel with Desmond Bain, Dylan Brooks on the perimeter as well. I think any coach can get it done if you give them the right pieces. They've also got to be willing to use those pieces. The official payback says, I like Al Horford, Seth Curry, Chris Paul, all pickups. I like a sleeper to me is keeping Cam Payne. I think under a new system, he will be great. I mean, I like what Cam Payne does, what he does well. He can get downhill, but I feel like it's kind of a log jam because you got to decide what you got to do with Kolek, and you've got Deuce McBride here as well. I think we looked a little bit more settled when DeLon Wright was getting in. Cam Payne can be a little streaky, too erratic at times, Yeah, Mikal OG Hart has to make up for a lot of defensive issues from Brunson and Cat. Says David. Are they going to re-sign DeLon Wright? I would say at this stage it's unlikely. I just think they want to bring in Joe. I think they want to bring in some new names. We have an opportunity now to bring in some new names. Maybe if Plan A falls through, Plan B falls through, Plan C, we could bring back DeLon Wright. But I think you got to decide with Tyler Kolek. Like he's in his second year now. He's 24. He has to play. You know, he's earning a guaranteed contract, you know, right now. And so, you know, we need more playmaking too. I really feel like Tyler Kolek is the best playmaker on the squad. He's a guy that can get others involved and not look for his shot. You know, the problem with Campaign, he would look for his shot just too much, you know. So we have some breaking news coming out of Minnesota. Appreciate Darren for the update. Naz Reid has upped and signed a huge deal, 5-year, $125 million deal to stay with the Minnesota Timberwolves, fam. I think Julius Randle's going to go. What do y'all think? 5-year deal for Naz Reid. Right. They obviously couldn't afford to let him go, fam. So, wow, that's paid. That's getting paid right there, Naz Reid. Big time deal. Rudy Gobert is going to stick. They drafted a big man, Rocco Zakarski, on the 2A to develop behind Rudy Gobert. So that is interesting. We have some news as well. OG Anunoby has visited his hometown, doing some camps, enjoying the off-season so far as OG at a basketball camp in his hometown of Jefferson City, Missouri. The Strickland posts here, I think that anything is possible if you work hard, you put your mind to it, you can do the right things, you can achieve anything. OG Anunoby, spending time with the community in his hometown and putting on some camps. What do y'all think about a third season coming in with OG Anunoby under a new coach? Can a new coach help take OG's game to another level? I think, look, for us to win a championship, if currently constructed, OG has to be the third option, and he has to continue to develop, you know, his offensive skill set. But the three-point shot was great this season. Playmaking is going to help, you know, with the new coach, getting OG, you know, out of the corner and coming off the curl, you know, pick and roll, getting him, you know, with his frame, setting good screens, cutting to the basket. That stretch when Brunson was out, OG was big time, man. He was an all NBA type player during that stretch. You know, he was putting up 25 and 10. You know, putting up 25 and 10 on efficiency. You know, so that was big time from OG. But my biggest thing is let's keep OG's minutes down, you know. Hopefully with the addition of these new wings, especially with Bacome Dardier and Kevin McCullough, those guys can give 15 a night. That's going to help Mikal. That's going to help OG get their minutes down to, like, I think ideally below 35. You know, those guys should hopefully play 33, 35, maybe on a 36 on a big night, but no more of the 39, 43 minute games that Thibodeau would have, you know, under these guys. Something to look out for, the official payback. Could we imagine getting Dante DiVincenzo back and Shamet off our bench? You know, you hit, I think, I don't know how we could make it happen, but that's the biggest need. We need some downtown shooting, you know, from deep, especially above the break. You know, addition from within would be Mikal Bridges coming back, and that jump shot looks better, you know. That's plausible because, you know, we know Mikal Bridges kind of tinkered with his shot during the last summer, and it didn't start very well. if Mikal Bridges hopefully in the gym now refining his shot and can get back to what he used to be in Phoenix, that would be a massive, massive improvement, you know. But yeah, you mentioned that point, you know, Minnesota, it's got to be a financial squeeze eventually. Keyshawn says he needs to improve his handles. Yep, definitely agree. Definitely agree regarding OG. Isaac says OG is our guy. OG had a good season, says AP. Johnny says Dink Pate over campaign. Yeah, you know, I think Dink Pate deserves the two-way. Whether or not he's on the Exhibit 10 right now, he will end up, I think, on a two-way. You don't sign him as an undrafted free agent just to let him go after a season. I think we'll be investing into his development. And hopefully he can, you know, his athleticism is what this squad needs, you know. We were missing athleticism, and like I said, guys that can finish under the basket. And look, he does appear to have that kind of dog mindset. Where was that interview right now? Yeah, let me bring this up, guys, just so that y'all can hear.
Represent everything. What can you say to people about setting your own trends and setting your own wave instead of following someone else?
I'm ready for war. I've been telling myself that I'm ready for war. I'm not following nobody. I want to start my own thing. If people talking about bringing something back, I'm going to be the one that's going to do everything that's going to bring it back because I represent everything. I'm representing this to the fullest.
What can you say to people about setting your own trends and setting your own wave?
What do y'all think about that? So that's Dink Pate from Reebok. Reebok athlete, man. He looks hungry. Talk about a chip. Going undrafted, man. A 4-star recruit out of high school. Would have been a 5-star recruit after that. You know, was set to be a lottery pick. He's from Dallas, Texas, fam. Dallas, Texas. So we've got a lot of connections over there. My guys, the Barlows from NBA Big Board. Like Dink Pate. Raphael Barlow's from the Dallas area. And knows Dink Pate. Look, all the tools and the potential is there. This is the best possible flyer that you could take on a guy that could have been a lottery pick. And he looks hungry. He looks like a guy that is going to come in like a Lou Dort and have that chip. You know, like a Austin Reeves. You know, that bet on himself. And yeah, look, I appreciate that he chose us. You know, he could have picked a couple of teams, but he obviously liked to see what we have going over here, and he thinks this is the best spot where he can get an opportunity. And I think we've basically offered him a two-way. You know, he's hungry. He's coming in. So here's our summer league schedule, guys. We're going to get a grudge match against Detroit. Ron Holland. We're going to, you know, be going. Our rookies are going to be going up against Ron Holland. Back from the playoffs. I don't know if Osar Thompson is going to play summer league. What is this? Is this Osar's third year coming in? Yeah, I could see him playing summer league. I don't know. Third year. Do you think Osar Thompson will be in summer league? I think he would. Get more reps up. So Ron Holland, Osar Thompson against our guys. Mohamed Diawara, Dink Pate, Kevin McCullough, Pacome Dardier, the rest of the guys. And then Boston, second game. That's a 5:30 tip. So these are friendly tip-off times. Boston, they're going to have their rooks. What did they pick up? They picked up the big man, and they picked up the shooter as well, Baylor Shireman last season. And then Brooklyn, man, that's going to be fun. Brooklyn got clowned during the first round. Brooklyn selected what, 5 first-round guys. None of them really have all-star potential, in my opinion, or star potential. But you know, it's a lot of developing that they got to do. Wayne, what's good? Says, I think Osara will play summer league. Yeah, I think he should. You know, we know he's overqualified, but you know, he should be using that opportunity to dominate. Dink Pate reminds me of Ariza, says Bodega. That's a good shout, man. Trevor Ariza. I told you Ferron Hunt before. That could be the worst case scenario, but he reminds me of that as an athlete. But I'll tell you another guy that he reminds me of. A little bit of Dante Exum, a little bit of RJ Barrett. Where's that video? Here we go. Another former Knick. You know who he reminds me of a little bit? ISO Zo. Alonzo Trier. In terms of that dog, that hunger, that mindset, where we went undrafted as well. Remember Alonzo Trier and the Knicks pounced after the draft finished, coming out of shooting guard, coming out of Arizona. The Knicks liked what they saw in Alonzo Trier, and we snapped him up. I remember the first game, he came in straight down the lane and slammed it down and went viral. After that, people were hyped. They were like, where does this guy come from? Why did he go undrafted? And then we know the rest of that. Kind of didn't work out. You know, he was a chucker in the end. You know, he was looking for his shot, but you love the aggression. You love the confidence. You love that he's not scared. Hopefully that can rub off. That can rub off on the Pacome Dardiers and you know, and these other guys. Hopefully that confidence can rub off, because yeah, if you're not locked in and you're scared, you know, somebody's going to come for your spot. So I like that this guy's a little bit maybe ahead of himself in terms of, you know, he's confident, he's cocky, you know. That's the $1 million question, man. I don't know where Alonzo Trier is. You know, I think he's doing some other things outside of basketball, but I think he went overseas for a minute. But man, that was a fun, like, 2 years, wasn't it? Alonzo Trier, like, he was an instant rotation player. You know, I remember he coming off being undrafted with a chip on his shoulder, coming out of Arizona. Yeah, David, I think the Summer League games, the New York Knicks Summer League games, will be on ESPN. In terms of the first game against Detroit, that's going to be on NBA TV. Let me line up this schedule right now. First game against Detroit on July 11 is on NBA TV. The second game on NBA TV as well. A third game against Brooklyn on ESPN2, and the fourth game against Indiana also on ESPN2, and the fifth game is to be announced. And then obviously there's going to be the championship game. So I think the Knicks could play a maximum of 6 games. Yeah. Depending on where you are in the standings, they give you the 5th game against an opponent. And if you're still in the race to win the Summer League Championship, then you automatically advance. I think based on wins and losses or points differential, and you'll qualify for the championship game, you know, with the 6th game. Yep. Put his head down and get to the lane. JM says Dink has something to prove. NYC will be the perfect landing pad for him. Yeah, you mentioned NYC, and I was kind of thinking, like, based on our current roster, why did he choose the New York Knicks? But now it's kind of, he likes the spotlight, and from a marketing perspective, if you go undrafted, I think there's no better market to repair your stock, you know, as a Reebok athlete, you know, than to go to New York City. You know, we all saw, like I said, Alonzo Trier, man, that can only happen in New York City. You know, Lynn Sanity, Jeremy Lin. You know, like I said, we were hype over Ferron Hunt, you know, a G League guy. You know, if you can live up to the hype, you will get hyped. You know, with the Knicks. Margaret says, why NBA TV? I've got MSG. I think with Summer League, they've got an agreement with ESPN. I think that could be something. But I'm pretty sure MSG will be doing a lot of pre-game, post-game. We will get our guy Bill Pito on and talk about it. Find out what they've got going for the new season ahead. But we are, free agency away on Tuesday. And we obviously are, less than 2 weeks away from seeing our real New York Knicks get real action, man. Real action, real NBA rostered players with Pacome Dardier, Tyler Kolek, possibly factoring into the rotation. Who's going to be the coach? Who's going to be the coach now, guys? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that more, because I do expect at the start of next week there will be a lot more clarity, I think. I think based on the timeline that I'd heard, there was going to be a lot more clarity on the coaching situation, you know, early next week. On a side note, Cody says they're making a John Wick 5. I caught that a couple of days back. I did see the new John Wick spin-off, Ballerina. Yeah, that was good. That was solid. I think that was a solid spin-off. Yeah, hype for another John Wick. Can't wait for Summer League 2, JM. Is Chris Paul a possibility, Isaac? I think he's going to stay in LA, or he's going to sign with an LA team. I think, talking about his family, you know, not spending enough time with his young children. I think that's the biggest thing, man. You know, uprooting his family to New York City will be tricky. So yeah, one of the reasons why I think Landry Shamet will be back, I think Landry Shamet lives in New York City as well. He loves the city of New York, and he talked about that. So I do expect Landry Shamet to come back if the dollars make sense. If he gets an offer higher than the veteran minimum, you know, he's got to take it. You know, he's wherever that is, Utah. You know, he's getting older now as Landry, but I do expect that if he doesn't get higher than the minimum, that he'll come back. I think he'll come back. I think the organization, what I heard is they have interest in bringing DeLon Wright back, but he's not plan A. You know, he's normally in free agency, you'll start with your plan A's. You know, you go for your targets first. You know, the highest targets, and then you will, you know, go down the board just like the draft. You know, let's say Keon Ellis goes off the board, then we go down to the next guy. Tyus Jones gets too much. Okay, we might have to bring DeLon Wright back. You know. But there are some options. Trey Mann out of Charlotte. You know, he's a scoring guard. Seth Curry might be a little too old, but I like the fact that he's a knockdown shooter as well. You could never have enough. You can never have enough of those guys. You know. The coaching situation, yeah. Look, Jenkins. I feel like he's the leader right now, but I feel like Mike Brown is really in with a shot as well. Taylor Jenkins, working with these young guys has me excited at that possibility too. He had quite a young roster in Memphis, but had success with the young guys in Milwaukee, as the assistant, so giving him some of these guys with versatility on the defensive side with their defensive skill set and tools is exciting. We have an athletic stud in Dink Pate and a positionless defender 1 through 5 with MO Diawara as well. And what got me excited too is just hearing from some of the draft scouts talk about that, the Knicks didn't reach on Mohamed Diawara. It was a case of, his stock was where it was, Some people were sleeping on him. And NBA big board Rafael Barlow confirms here he heard his name was buzzing.
Houston with the 59th pick. That was surprising. Mohamed Diawara was a name that I had heard was buzzing, so that wasn't too surprising. But Zakarsky, Houston with the 59th pick. That was surprising. Mohamed Diawara was a name that I had heard was buzzing, so that wasn't too surprising.
So yeah, that was good to hear. Obviously the Knicks did their due diligence. They worked him out as well. He was one of the key workouts too. Some other free agents, possible veteran minimum. A guy that I know well, Dante Exum, right? Reports coming out of Mark Stein in Dallas, right? Had some success in Dallas, repairing his value in the league as a minimum guy, but a 6'6" wing defender and a point guard. A lot of y'all talk about Lonzo Ball, a taller point guard. Some of those guys are out of reach financially. But a Dollar Tree version of that could be Dante Exum, right? A new report coming out that he has mutual interest returning in Dallas. However, it looks like they won't have the roster room to do so. So that could be a squeeze, right? If y'all want Campaign back, I'd definitely take Dante Exum over Campaign as a 6'6" point guard that can defend 1 through 4. Had some injury issues, but when he's healthy, for a veteran minimum guy, I would definitely take a strong look at a Dante Exum. He's great with the 3-point catch and shoot as well, and is a point guard, in a wing's body too. I'll get through as many comments as I can, but apologies if I do miss something. You guys are keeping it buzzing. Buzzer beater, keep Hart or trade Hart? Keep. 100% keep. Hart brings so much to the table, to the culture, the hustle, the hunger, the locker room. He had an up and down year, and I feel like he was overused. Dust him off. Take him to the car wash. Get a nice touch up. Get a nice clean up under a new coach, and I think he'll be good to go. Josh Hart will be good to go another year. He's so much better when he's not playing 39 minutes, If he's playing 28 minutes, I think he'll be good off the bench. Gets downhill, can play make, does some of the dirty work. I'm keeping Josh Hart right now, man. I don't care what anyone else says, but you're definitely entitled to your opinion if you do want to look for a trade. But I think you can't gut so much of the culture right now. It's important to keep some of this connected. We'll see how it plays out. Susan says the rumor, I think a coach from Minnesota on the coaching staff. Micah Norrie, big name to look out for, but the connections are obviously key. But whoever's going to get the most out of this roster, I'm looking for offensive versatility, guys that are more creative on defense as well. Giving these guys more tools. You got to play Pacome Dardier more, Kevin McCullough, but also be more open to playing zone, more open to switching, more open to not overhelping on every single drive and leaving the shooters open like Thibodeau does. You know, all these other things, late game execution, blitz. I mean, I don't know why we didn't blitz Tyrese Halliburton late. You know, make somebody else make a play. You know, one-on-one coverage with Tyrese Halliburton was silly. I think at times. You know, and especially during the double drag, he was able to get downhill and just kill us. So for all the defensive acumen that Tom Thibodeau has, he really didn't coach a good series against Indiana. You know, he left a lot of things on the table for me. Paula says you're always talking about Dante Exum. Yeah, I'm looking at what we have to spend. Is Dante Exum my first choice? Hell no. But what else do we have to spend? We've got veterans minimums, y'all. Y'all want to be looking at Lonzo Balls, and y'all want to be looking at Malik Beasleys and that. You know, we're shopping at the Dollar Tree store, guys. You know, we don't have any more than the vet minimum cap space. You know, and if I'm looking at a Tyus Jones, guys, he's 6'1". You know, he's close to a midget. You know, with respect, I'm looking for guys with size. JM says Micah has the chance to run the show in mini when Finch was out. He was experienced coaching in the playoffs, even though he has not been an official head coach yet. Comes in with a taste of what he could do with that experience. Simon asks, would y'all get Trey Murphy for Macau? I don't think the Pelicans would do it. But yeah, I would definitely entertain that. But I don't think the Pelicans would do that. I'm not sure what the salaries look like. I do think Macau earns more than that. King Ribby says like, subscribe, share. Appreciate you guys rocking with us too on a Friday night where we've got a couple of days and then free agency and then summer league will get official New York Knicks ball back. It's been a very short off season so far due to the deep playoff run. But yeah, you know, our veterans are resting up right now. I think I saw on Instagram, we got Brunson, Hart, and Campaign were in Greece, I think for somebody's honeymoon. So they're enjoying some sun overseas in Europe, chilling out, clearing their minds, and then they're going to get back into the gym. But our Summer League Knicks will take the spotlight in Vegas. Hopefully they can make headlines with what they can do. And they'll be having sort of a certain, you know, chip on their shoulder as well. You know, when you think about these guys, a couple of our draft picks that we picked up today, but Pacome Dardier didn't get many opportunities last season. Neither did Kolek. Huck Porty should have played more as well. A lot of these guys got to be hyped that there's a new coach coming in right now. You know, the talk is that there's respect there. You know, they respect Tom Thibodeau and what he was able to do for the squad, but they're definitely got to be excited about, you know, a new opportunity. You know, it's no different to your regular 9-to-5 job where you're stuck under the same boss. You know, you missed out on that promotion twice. Maybe, you know, the boss overlooked your potential. A new boss comes in your job, but you got to be hyped. But you got to be ready to that opportunity. You know, you got to showcase why you deserve that. You got to showcase why you deserve that chance, right? A lot of these guys got experience and pro experience now. They should dominate summer league. From my perspective, I'm coming in here thinking Tyler Kolek, 24 years old. Ariel Huck-Porty's played 4 seasons of pro basketball. James Nagy been spending 3 years overseas as well. These guys got to be coming in you know, and hopefully dominating. Yeah, you guys are on fire. Salute. Now, the Dollar Tree scenario, that doesn't have to be the case. There are options. You know, I understand if you're talking about a Mitchell Robinson or a Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges trade. I'm not ruling that out. You know, free agency hasn't begun. Leon Rose could get a bit crazy in this situation. You know, maybe James Dolan's lurking, and maybe some pressure is growing to capitalize in the East this season. One thing I've learned about Leon Rose is nothing is off the table. You know, he extended RJ Barrett and then traded him, and quickly. He couldn't extend Julius Randle, and he traded him. He signed Dante DiVincenzo for just 1 year, and then sent his bags packing to Minnesota. I don't think he's married to no one, you know. But obviously everyone I do feel like brings value to the table. I would keep the core coming back for another season. Add the depth. You know, add some hunger from the rookies. And also a new coach. New system. And I think the East is open, obviously. And hopefully we can make life easier for ourselves, you know. The way we played against Detroit is not sustainable, man. Remember that game 3 where Karl Anthony Towns hit those heroic threes, step back from the logo, and then game 4, I think Josh Hart really fouled Tim Hardaway. We got away with that one, right? Things could have been different. That's why they fired Tom Thibodeau. You know, they weren't like, oh, we made the Eastern Conference Finals. They were like, hey, we understand. We dodged a bullet. We understand that we got that far, but we also could do a lot better. You know, we could have done a lot better against Detroit. Also, if Boston didn't crap the bed in game 1 and game 2, that series would have gone 7. You know, if Boston didn't crap the bed in game 1 and 2, that series would have gone 7. So everyone wants to look at the final series against Indiana. But I think the front office is, you know, understanding that, you know, now we have to capitalize, you know. As the latest coach update, Ian Begley says James Borrego getting that opportunity to interview. But I do think at the end of the day, they will end up with a head coach that has more head coaching experience in the league than James Borrego, who only had a couple of years in Charlotte. You know, this is a big stage, you know. This is nothing like in Charlotte. Yeah, Willis Reed, absolute legend, fam. And Buzzer Beater asks, who am I most concerned about in the East? I think from top to bottom, I would say Cleveland, because we you know, they beat us throughout the regular season and we didn't get to face them as kind of an unknown. Not to say we can't beat them, but they are more of an unknown. Next, I would probably say, look, Indiana, Boston, you know, they're going to drop down a bit. You know, that losing Tatum and Hallie is huge. So obviously got to say, I think Atlanta have made a big step up, and Orlando, fam. Atlanta and Orlando, I think, have made a step up with the acquisition of Desmond Bane, and Atlanta getting Kristaps Porzingis. I think those guys have made a step up, but I would say Cleveland. Who do y'all think is the biggest threat to the New York Knicks? Free agency around the corner. We'll be live streaming at the start of free agency like we do. We'll be covering all of the Summer League as well, post-game. Everyone in the building, salute. Tonight, replay squad, salute. Smash that like button. More coverage, more breakdowns coming. But yeah, I gave our Draft night overall, a B-, taking an upside swing on 2 defensive-minded players and some skills athletically that this roster needed. And now it's time for the rest of the other guys to step up, and the front office to keep adding the pieces. Dollar Tree or not, we can add some talent. You know, talent is in the eye of the beholder, and now it's time for the front office to take their game to the next level. You know, find these diamonds in the rough, swindle these free agents into a veteran minimum deal. You know, let their mouth do the talking. You know, and hopefully get some talent added to the squad. Take care, everybody. Peace up, bless up, and keep the streets buzzing. And I like what's happening so far. I think a big season ahead. Summer League up next with free agency coming up. Peace.